All right, welcome back to season 6 of our show, and today we're taking you deep into the South with a very special meal. We're throwing down with some ribs, hog maws, and chitlins. Let's show you how to get this one done. All right, so it's ribs, hog maws, and chitlins. So right over here we have some chitterlings. These are hog maws. This is pig stomach, this is pig intestines, chitlins. That's what that is. Right here we've got some jowl from the pig. That's the jowl around the mouth. We got some collard greens. They're already cut up. We got 2 racks of spare ribs here. And we're using spare ribs today because this is my favorite. We got some spices over here. Garlic powder, onion powder, paprika, little thyme, cumin powder, black pepper. And then we got all of our vegetables that we're using today. So this is everything we're using today here. We got some celery, yellow onion, some red onion, and 1 potato. And you're gonna find this very interesting how we use that potato. So let's get this going. So first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna season our ribs up. Now, I'm gonna put some garlic and onion powder on here. Make it yours. You could even mix it up. Today I'm just gonna judge it out, see where I'm going with this. Here's some garlic powder. I'm gonna put a lot of that on here. You notice I'm just doing the fronts. Got some cumin powder. As much or as little as you guys want. Just make all of these ingredients and spices yours. You can put it on heavy because everything that we're going to use for the back anyway, as you'll see in a second. So here's the paprika for a little flavor, mostly color. And then we got some thyme. Put a lot of that on. And now, olive oil. Just get that on there and start to rub it in. It's going to get pasty on you and make a good little paste for you. So get it rubbed in good. You notice we didn't put the salt and pepper yet. We'll do this one. This is Shores. You got a good mix on here. So you can see what's actually going on here. All right, so now the reason why you got a nice heavy amount on here, we're gonna put even more in. Looks like a lot of oil, but it's not. All right, so now we're gonna flip these over and go around your pan and pick up the rest. So you can take some from this one. I mean, basically it's the back of the rib, so there's bones. All right, so now I'm gonna do this one. Let's flip this over. Get it rubbed in. You don't need much on the back. All that flavor is gonna set in, believe me. All right, so now we got a little salt. I'm gonna salt the back as much or as little as you want. Now ribs naturally, or any pork, has a lot of salt in it already. So I'm using a low sodium salt here. I'm gonna flip these back over. Let's go to that side. I'm gonna get these lined up good because I don't like the way they're lined up. Now they're nice and even in the pan with lots of room in here. Make sure you guys are using a big enough pan. All right, so now we got this. I'm gonna apply some more olive oil to this. Just like that. And this is the way they should look. Just olive oiled up. Lots and lots of olive oil. All right, so we got that. We're gonna salt the fronts. I'm going easy on the salt because I don't do a lot of salt. And I'm gonna rub that in. There we go. We're gonna go in with some black crushed pepper. If you look at the gauge on here, it's pretty big gauge. All right, let's rub that in. Look how that looks, looking pretty good. Good amount of that. I like black pepper. Now these are going in the oven, they're not going on the grill. And if they were going on the grill, I might use a little less pepper, but we want to bring maximum flavor to this today, so we're using all that nice pepper and seasoning on here because you're going inside. And now we're going to use some white wine. The corners, if you don't want to use white wine, you could use apple juice or anything like that, but we're using white wine today, and it's going to cook out. So just make sure you get it like that. I'm going to rock this pan back a little bit and get it underneath the ribs, just like that. Make sure it's around it, and make sure all that nice seasoning that you put down here is sitting in there. All right, so now that we got that, give this pan a little wipe. All right, now I'm gonna cut a little onion. I'm gonna get some onion in here because that's gonna bring some more flavor into the party. And like I said, it's an indoor rib. And most people don't treat their ribs like a roast, but I always treat my ribs just like a roast. And I'll cut some onion and get it on top of them, just to ensure a nice, moist, beautiful rib. And you can push the onion off to the side, or you can eat it. It's up to you. All right, so I'm gonna get all of our onion in. Some in the pan there too, because you'll enjoy that juice. So we're gonna make a nice sauce with that broth afterwards that comes off of this. That's gonna be it. Let's cover that with some aluminum in the oven. 350 degrees. We're gonna take this for about 2 hours in the oven. We're just gonna check it as we go along for tenderness, but in the oven we go. We're using the mid rack, and we're leaving the top rack open because we might throw in something else. Stick around, don't go anywhere. All right, so we got those ribs in the oven, and now we're moving on to our chitlins and our hog maws. All right, so for you guys that never saw chitlins before, this is them. This is the intestine of a pig. Now these have been cleaned out. They've been soaked several times, soaked in vinegar and water, and you just got to keep cleaning these. Now, I bought these already pre-cleaned, but you have to clean them again just to make sure. So we're going to take these and we're going to put these in the pot. And when you're using things like intestinal meat, whether you're using the intestines to any of the animals, cows or the pig, you have to make sure you wear gloves and you're very sterile about handling of this meat. So you want to put this in. Now this is the lining of a stomach. This is the pig's stomach, and this is the lining of the stomach. Now, traditionally, a lot of times in black culture, these two get mixed in together because the chitlin lining is very lean, and the stomach lining brings a lot of fat and richness to the chitlins. This is what the American black slaves grew up on, and it's traditional food of the South. And I love tradition, and I always like to keep the tradition going because the kids today, they'll forget the tradition and will lose this recipe, which is a great recipe that I'm not afraid or ashamed to say that I eat. Now, I came from the old school. My parents, they were very eclectic with food, and you ate everything. If it hit the table, you ate it. That's how it was back in the days. And my dad, especially my dad, he was a bug about wasting food, and I'm the same to this day. And he would tell you, don't tell me what you don't like, because when your butt bone is touching your backbone, tell me then what you don't like. And that was the way I grew up. All right, so we're gonna mix this in. And by the way, by the grace of the Lord, we never missed a meal. Now I'm gonna put in onion powder. Good amount of that. Garlic powder. I mean, this garlic powder is about as fresh as you can get right here. We're putting in black peppercorn. Good amount of that. paprika for color and flavor. And I'm keeping this recipe completely authentic. I'm gonna mix that in. Now we are gonna cut up a potato and put that in because that's gonna make our gravy. But I'm gonna have to clean my hands up and show you this. All right, so right now we're going in with onion, celery, as much or as little as you want. I like a lot of onion in this dish. Now the salt, you have to be very careful because this dish traditionally goes with hot sauce. You put hot sauce on at the end and you'll have this meal with hot sauce. All right, let's just mix that in. When I come back, we're gonna put the potato in and fill this up with water. And the potato makes a gravy. And if there's any gaminess that emits off of these innards, then the potato will also soak that up too. And you won't smell any gaminess in your household. All right, I'm gonna add just a touch of salt to this, just for now. I don't over salt this at all, just because later on I like to add my hot sauce. And if you over salt this, you won't be able to add any hot sauce because it's gonna be way too salty. A little bit more. And then coming right to the end, if you like, you can add a little bit of red pepper. But I don't think I have enough black pepper in here, so I'm gonna add just a little bit more of the black pepper. And by adding more of the natural pepper, you'll use less of the hot sauce. And if you have anything like salt problems or high blood pressure, you won't have to put that much salt or hot sauce in. All right, there you go. All right, I'm gonna get cleaned up and I'll meet you right back here, so stick around. Don't go anywhere. All right, we're cleaned up. It's time to add our potato and our water. So we're just gonna chop up a little potato. Again, this is gonna build a gravy, and if there's any gaminess that this omits, this will take care of that. So just like that, and with the potato we go. And I think I'm gonna put about that much. Now I'm breaking them up into small pieces because they're just gonna disappear inside this and make a gravy. So you shouldn't see a potato in here. I'm gonna use the rest of it up. I mean, this is a long cook. I use one big potato. About 3 hours. This is how long you wanna cook this down to. All right, let's get some water in here. Right up to the brim, so it will cook down. Just like that. And that's it. I'm gonna drop the lid on here and take it over to the stove. Stick around, don't go anywhere. All right, we're moving along mighty fast. So it's time to show you these collard greens. All right, so what we did for you guys in advance, we pre-cut up some collard greens. Now, in most of our videos, we showed you guys how to bust these collard greens down and take them off the stem. I'm sure you guys can handle that one this time. So the first thing you're gonna do is take these nice, beautiful collard greens. You'll need a pot. This is a decent sized pot. It will hold these, but keep in mind, they're gonna cook down to about there. But you still need the room in the pot. So we're gonna take these guys, just like that. I'm gonna put these in the pot. We're gonna show you just what kind of room this takes. So let's just get them out of this vessel and get them right in here. Just like that. Figure you guys would like this one. This is a very old pan. That I had around the house for a while. And we're just using it to put some collard greens in. All right, so now we got that nice and stacked up. Now we're using the hog jowl to flavor this. And if you guys aren't familiar with hog jowls, it's the jowl of a pig. So we're gonna take this hog jowl, we're just gonna cut it up. Hog jowl is like bacon. It's got the hard skin on it. And this is the way it looks. You see all that fat in there? So we're just gonna cut this up. We're going to cut it again to get down into the greens, but for now, we're just going to cut it. I have some water in here, and we're going to drop it in. Just like that. So basically, we're boiling it, we're making a stock. Don't put any broth in here because it's going to be too salty on you. And a lot of times that when you make stocks, a lot of people think they don't want to use water. But a water makes an excellent stock. And it thins the fat. So if you want to thin the fat out, always use water, especially when it's something as fatty as this. And don't use any chicken stock or beef stock on top of it because it's going to be just too much stock. So there is such a thing as too much of a good thing. All right, so now we got that in just plain water. We're going to go in with a little red chili pepper. Now this is going to season that stock. You won't need any salt because it's already in that pig meat right there. It's already cured. That's a smoked jowl. We're going to cut up some onion, and we're going to get the onion in. One big, huge bay leaf. We're going in with that. Sure you guys never seen bay leaves that big, but they're out there. You got to look for them. And we'll just chop up all these onions. And I might even put a little bit more water on top of that for the stock. And speaking of stock, that stock is going to do that whole pot, believe it or not. When these things start cooking down, that's all the stock you need. That little bit of water right there, that little bit of stock is going to be concentrated, powerful, and it's going to cook this whole pot of greens down. That's right. And that's it. Now, if you guys are making collard greens, whoop, almost forgot a jowl. I'm just going to put the whole thing in, just like that. And I might add some water to it as it starts to cook down and soften. So we're going to make the stock, then we're going to add all this to the greens and we're going to cook them down again, but we're starting off with that. So onto the stove we go. All right, no southern meal is complete unless you have some beautiful cornbread. So over here, we have 1.5 cups of flour, 1.5 cups of cornmeal, 2 eggs, some buttermilk. It's about 2 cups, and crushed black pepper. All right, so we're gonna use a ham for this. Now this dish, my mom used to make, but I'm showing you guys this. So you take a ham, you gotta cube it into little pieces. It's almost the same thing as using bacon, but you're just using a country ham for it. So I'm just gonna cut this up, just like so. And then we're gonna put it in the pan and fry it up. And this just brings out so much flavor in the cornbread. And it's not as fatty as a bacon, so it's a lot more leaner, and it's giving you a lot more meat. So we're just gonna get this all cut up. Just like that. And that's about it. Just judge it out of how much of this that you want in there. It takes 2 seconds to cut up, but you don't want the big pieces in there, so you kind of want the pieces a little bit more fine, like that. So this way, when it does cook down, it gives you little bits in there, and you're not pulling big pieces of ham out of your mouth. And that's never a good experience, to pull chunks of anything out of your mouth. All right, so we got it like that. Think about, when I look at it, it's about where I want to go. I have a pan right now, cast iron, heating up on the stove right now. I'm getting it nice and hot. All right, so that's about where I want it, just like that. So what we'll do is we'll slide this off to the side, and let's make some cornbread. So we got that, that's our mix. We're gonna go in with some of the buttermilk. Now to give you guys a little secret, I ran out of buttermilk. So that's milk mixed with lemon. So if you ever want to make buttermilk tastes sour. If you ever taste it, it sounds like something great, but it actually tastes very sour because it's very bitter. So if you ever run out of buttermilk, just put a little lemon in there and you'll be fine to curl the milk. And it's going to add a little lemony flavor in there, and it's going to taste excellent. So let's put some more in here. And now I'm going to add my egg. And that should just about do it. Now I should have a nice mixture in here. So I'm going to get this all mixed up, and I'm going to meet you guys onto the stove to fry up that nice ham over there. So stick around. Don't go anywhere. All right, we got all of our things here just simmering, cooking away. Those jowls. So here we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to render this down. Then I'm going to pull it out of this pan. I'm going to put it into that wonderful batter. And then I'm going to stick the batter back into this nice hot cast iron pan. And then into the oven she goes, into golden brown. And that's it. We'll meet you right back here. Stick around. Don't go anywhere. All right, so we got our bacon, or ham bacon, out of the pan. I'm just going to give this a little swirl in here, just like that. Mix it up inside the cornbread. And I didn't take it off the heat, so that pan is still really, really hot. And now I'm just going to go right into the pan with this. You hear it? That is exactly the sound you're looking for. Just like that. That's how you want to do this. I'm going to take this, turn it off the heat, and very carefully I'm going to give it a shake down. Just like that. Into the oven we go. Alright, so I'm going to slide this rack out a little bit. In the oven we go. And I'm going to add a little bit of black pepper on top of there. That's how you want to do that. And the black peppercorns, because I almost forgot, to be completely honest with you. There we go. And I'll just throw it back there. There we go. All right. Until she's golden brown. We'll meet you back here. Stick around. Don't go anywhere. All right, time to check in on our hog maws and our chitlins. Look at those. They're coming along great. And that potato has just disintegrated. And it made a nice little gravy in there, but that's them. Now I like these nice and soft, so I'm going for about a solid 3.5 hours on these. Our ribs have taken a little bit longer, so everything's just catching up with everything. And that's it. We'll meet you back here when we put everything out. Stick around. Don't go anywhere. All right, our jowls are off the stove, and now it's time to do the greens. Let's show you how to get this done. All right. Now, a jowl has some meat on it, but basically, they're mostly fat. You know, so if you guys are using like fat back, I mean, look at that meat on there. You can eat that, it'll cook down in the greens. So we're just gonna go right into this pot. There's nothing in here but just collard greens. So we'll put all the meat right on top. And when this pot starts to cook down, it will cook down. So I'm just gonna kind of stick it in there. And I'm gonna get it all in there too. Because in this house, we love flavor. And this jowl meat gives awesome flavor. You know, it's funny, everybody thinks that every pig part is the same flavor. It's not. Every part of the pig tastes different, completely different. And when you smoke it, it adds an element of surprise in there and just complements the pork. So here we go. All right, so now that we got that in there, I'm gonna pull out my bay leaf now because I think about it, it's giving all it can give right now. All right, so now I'm gonna bring in a ladle and I'm gonna start to ladle. Slide this over. Now I could pick it up, but it's really hot right now. And I have to go get my pot handle, but I'll pick it up in a second. I just wanna get some of this liquid out of it. And when you're putting the liquid in, you can just see the greens just kind of wilt down. So look at them just wilt right down. All right, so now I would say I can pick it up a little bit more easier now. And now I'm just gonna get it dumped down in there. One hand, there we go. And now onto the stove on low, and we're gonna simmer this and let all the natural juice from the greens come out and let everything just work together. We'll meet you right back here, stick around, don't go anywhere. All right, ribs are out of the oven. Let's show you what we're working with. Look at those guys. So now we're lacking room on our table. And we gotta show you how to plate this up. But we're gonna show you how to make a nice sauce too out of that liquid that's in there. So the first thing we'll do is we're gonna get some ribs out of here. And they're piping hot, they just came out, so you can see how hot they are. I'm just gonna cut them right inside the tray, just like that. And I'll load them over onto my cutting board. But look at that, they just cut beautifully. Let's bring another one over. And now I'll just find my bones and look at that. This is the only time I like my ribs full off the bone, is when they're cooked in an oven, just like this. And you notice that I'm serving with just 2 ribs at a time. I'm not cutting them up. So we'll put them like that. Don't those look delicious? All right, I'm gonna get this one out of here. You cut it the same way, just so you guys can see this. Look how tender that is. I'm gonna slide this away and pick it up. And I'm doing this so I can get all that juice out of there. So I want the ribs out, which I'm gonna put them back in right after I get that juice. Because we want the juice. All right. Look at that, 2 racks of ribs, just like that. All right, so I'm gonna leave these here for now. Piece of bone that fell out, we'll leave that. And now, I'm gonna put my heat glove on, and I want all those goodies in the bottom of that pan. Now, right in we go. Just like that. And now we're gonna put our ribs right back in. I'm gonna get our ribs in this pan again, and then I'm gonna meet you back here when we're ready to show you that sauce being made, so stick around. Don't go anywhere. All right, so what we did was we strained all of that juice that came out of those ribs right there. So this is what we strained out of here. I used a strainer and I got all of the grease out of here. So I separated the fat, and now this is what you're left with. So what you'll do is you'll just put it back to a pot, like that. We're gonna use this again later on, so put a little dry mustard in. It's dry mustard. I'm gonna give that a little stir. Now, dry mustard has a kick to it. If you guys ever go to the Chinese restaurants, they put it in the pack and it's mixed down with water, so they dilute it for you. But that's what dry mustard is. It's got a lot of kick for this mustard sauce. We're putting some sugar in here. So basically we're making a little indoor sauce to go with this. So we got our sugar in, and now we're gonna go onto the stove and reduce this, but let's give that a taste to see how we are before we reduce it down. Could use a touch more sweetness to it, believe it or not. I'm gonna go in with just a little bit more sweetness. And I have all the wine, the salt, and all that flavor from those ribs in there, so this is gonna be a beautiful sauce. Doesn't have to be a thick sauce, just make it a sauce. All right, we'll meet you onto the stove. Don't go anywhere. All right, our sauce is starting to thicken, and I'm gonna add just some cheap old mustard in here. Good amount of that, just to bring that tang, because we don't have that. We've got the sugar, we've got the heat from the dry mustard, and now we're gonna bring some color and some tang to this. Put it back on the heat and reduce it down just a little bit more. This shouldn't be a really thick sauce, and when it's on the table, it's gonna tighten up anyway. But that's just a great sauce, an old-fashioned sauce to have over top of the ribs. And look at that. All right, we'll meet you onto the table. All right, welcome back to Season 6's chopping block. And I tell you, it's quite a chopping block. Let's show you what we got. All right, starting off first, take a look at that mustard sauce. That is a beautiful mustard sauce. And we put it on the stove, we tighten it up, and this is what we got. So you can see how tight that got. Now, it's been sitting for a couple of seconds, but basically, that is a beautiful sauce right there. All right, I'm gonna move this off to the side. Here is our chitlin hog maws mix. That's what that looks like. Before we plate up, I just wanna show you everything, and that's how that gravy was made. That's how you wanna serve that. That's about as authentic as you can get with this. And take a look at these greens. Beautiful. And they're not soggy, sitting in a bunch of liquid, a little bit of liquid down at the bottom, but they're not soggy. And that's how you want to serve those. Now moving over to our cornbread here. That's the crackling cornbread. So we're going to show you all this before we plate up. Look at the bottom of that. Nice and crispy. And that's how you want that. And all that butter and lard is in there. Excellent. And of course we made a white rice to go along with this. And now, our ribs. You guys saw those already. And of course, we hit the new year. We can't forget about some black-eyed peas. Now we're gonna leave a link in the description to a video that was out that those are in, and you'll be able to see those being made, because these are a must. They got plenty of bacon in here. These are gorgeous. So if you didn't see that video already, that's those black-eyed peas. All right, time to plate up. And we're gonna get some greens onto the plate. I like mustard, I like collards, I like them all. I'm just gonna show you this meat right here. See how tender that is? Look at that. That's how you want that. There's nice tender meat in there. So I like plenty of meat in my greens. And I don't like my greens mushy or falling apart, because that's not the way you serve that. I'm gonna get a little rice onto the plate. Now this rice is served a little bit sticky because I want it to absorb the chitlins and the hog mars. Some people call them hog maws, some people call them hog maws, but the word is hog maws, M-A-W-S. That's what the word is. And everyone, depending on their state, pronounces it a different way. All right, and you guys let me also know in the comments who eats these, who remembers these, and who wants to try them. I'm curious of how many of you guys would like to try this. All right, so here we go. We're gonna get some onto the plate. Now what I do, I separate mine a little bit. I kind of leave them hanging on the edge. And I go put some right over the white rice, like that. And that's how I grew up on this. So now you guys know a little bit of how my childhood was. Now this was a special occasion, Christmas, New Year's. And every once in a while, if my parents were on tight budget, this meal will come out. And this is a meal that you just kind of learn to love. I'm not gonna lie, when I was a kid, it took a while of getting used to. First time I tried it was 5 years old, and I didn't like it. After a couple of tries of it, I never stopped eating it. And I think that's how most families are with most traditional meals. They just grow up on it and they don't stop eating it. So this meal is served, I like mine, with pickled onions. I'll put a couple of pickled onions on the side. And my mom would serve hers with homemade pickled onions, which are these. They give a touch of tanginess to it. And now we're gonna go in and get some of these beautiful ribs onto the plate. So here we go. A nice rack, partial rack of ribs in here. And now we got that beautiful sauce we made. So let's go in with that. I'm gonna take that nice sauce and go right over top of that rib. Just like that. And now, because I want to eat for you guys, I'm going to take another rib here. I'm just going to put this right here on the plate, because that's going to be the rib that I eat, instead of jumping into this big old rib. And I'm going to put some sauce on top of that, just to sauce it up. And then we're going to give all this a try. All right, I'm going to put this off to the side. And this is it. Hot sauce. This tops it off. And I'm using Crystal's hot sauce. When I was a kid, Red Devil was in. That's what we used to use. And it went on the chitlins, a whole bunch of it. And it went on the greens, a whole bunch of it. This is why I watch the salt. And I don't put a lot of salt in my food, because I love hot sauce. Because if you make the food too salty and you put this in, hot sauce is about 80% salt. It's not a very good look for you guys. So don't put all that salt in your food. All right, I'm gonna just clean this plate up as usual. And now, first things first, we're gonna try those chitlins and hog maws. Little rice in there. First of all, I have to say, if you would have told me I'd be standing here doing a video on YouTube eating chitlins and hog maws, I wouldn't have believed it. I mean, this is a lot right now, because this brings back a lot of memories, a lot of nostalgia about this meal, and it hits home. Soft, very earthy. It's gamey. You can taste the game in the chitlins. You can taste the game inside the hog maw. But overall, it's a taste that I grew up on, that I love. What more can I say? Let's try those ribs. You know, it's funny. I made these ribs fall off the bone. And I made them fall off the bone on purpose because that's what we grew up on. My grandmother would make these. They would fall off the bone. And she had no teeth. And now I see why, but going back to those times in life where the food was a lot softer and the textures of the food was a lot gentler, there wasn't a lot of chewing. It would fall off the bone the way those would fall off. And that sauce on top, that's a home run. Now, my mother made that sauce. I'm sharing it with you guys, but that sauce has never been done before, and especially on YouTube. That's it. Time for those greens. Those greens, very earthy. They've got a little bite to them, so they didn't fall apart in the water. And that's what I like about the greens. A little integrity to them. Just keep them there. And that hog jowl in there, that really sets it off. I use bacon, I use other pieces of meat. I think I pretty much just use whatever's around the house. But nothing accomplishes the flavor that those hog jowls do, so give that a try. Let's try those black eyed peas. Now with black eyed peas, you always want to add a little bite of cornbread right after you have the black eyed peas. Let's do it. There's ham inside the black eyed peas. The black eyed peas are very creamy and they're just rich. So when you bite into a black eyed pea, it's just really creamy and rich. That cornbread just kind of takes on to the flavor with those black eyed peas, because cornbread really takes on to the flavor of whatever it is that you're eating. And by putting that bacon in there, it really accomplishes a great bite. All right, we're gonna get organized and we're gonna meet you guys right back here, so stick around. Don't go anywhere. All right, and there it is. Tradition at its finest. A beautiful meal of the Deep South. We threw down with some ribs, collard greens. The ribs had a mustard-based sauce on them, made from scratch. Black eyed peas, it is the first of the year. Chitlin and the hog maw mix. Doesn't get any more traditional than that. And we also threw down with some cornbread on the side. Skillet fried cornbread. JD Hogg, Boss Hogg, will be proud. We thank you guys like always. We enjoyed you coming. And with no further ado, gotta get that last Pitmaster taste there.